everyone, welcome to another edition of Human Biology Reproductive System. Last time we were together, the last thing that we learned about was what semen is composed of. And the very last slide that you saw had a cross section of the penis like you see here. What the penis is the male reproductive vessel for sperm to get into the female. Now, a lot of people are confused about what the penis is composed of, and it's actually composed of something called erectile tissue. Now, erectile tissue is tissue that's kind of like spongy tissue. It's filled with a bunch of sinuses for blood. And it's blood flow that allows the penis to become erect when a male is aroused. Now, the penis itself has a root where it attaches to the body. The body of the penis is called the body. The bulk of the penis is the body. The end of the penis is called the glans. And if there is foreskin on the penis, it's called the prepuce. Not all penises have foreskin, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I also want to draw attention to the view that you're looking at here. You can see that this is a frontal plane of this penis in cross section here. So way at the top we see this would be where the urinary bladder is, sitting kind of above the prostate gland here. And the bulbourethral glands, or Cowper's glands, are right along the side of this part of the urethra. And the urethra goes through the prostate gland, the bulbourethral gland, and then through the penis. Now, as mentioned before, what we sometimes call the head of the penis is called the glans penis. And at this end, we see the corpus spongiosum, which is this layer of, let me get a thinner marker here, this layer of erectile tissue that is on the inside that kind of hugs the urethra and then continues on into the head of the penis, or the glans. That's called the corpus spongiosum. Now, the prepuce is a piece of tissue that is basically just skin that is on the outside of the penis, that covers the glans. And the external urethral orifice, that's just a fancy word for the little hole in the tip of the penis where either semen or urine is going to escape. So in this view, we're looking at a cross section of the penis. This one always kind of cracks me up because it looks like a face, or like a grasshopper. See, it looks like it's got eyes right here. There's one giant eye, there's one giant eye, and there's the little mouth. So what we're looking at when we see the giant eyes that I'm talking about there is basically that's that spongy tissue that I was talking about. There's this artery in there. Arteries away, they take blood from the heart towards another body region. So when a male gets aroused, that artery is going to fill with blood. And as that artery fills with blood, it fills up the spongy tissue called the corpora cavernosa. We call that erectile tissue. Now you can see also in this diagram here at the bottom, which was the mouth of this little grasshopper, is the spongy urethra, or penile urethra. And you can see that there's this little circular mass of that tissue called the corpus spongiosum that surrounds the urethra, and that's what we were referencing in the last slide. This diagram is just a cross-section of how the penis is rooted into the body. I've got some other interesting facts to talk about later, but you can see that the penis is not all external. Once we get close to the body here, we can see that some of it continues on internally as well. And then in this view right here, you can see all of the different muscles that are part of the lower pelvic cavity. Now this slide is referencing a process called circumcision. Circumcision is the word for the removal of the prepuce or the foreskin. If a male gets circumcised, it usually happens a few days after they're born. There is some research that suggests that it is done because it lowers your risk of UTIs, which stands for urinary tract infections, your cancer, and sexually transmitted diseases. In the US, it's an interesting story why we do it, but it's mostly aesthetic in the US. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but if you're interested in it, it's an interesting topic for an FOW because it is still debated to this day whether or not it's necessary or useful or whether or not it actually does have this effect on lowering sexually transmitted diseases. So basically all they do is they take this prepuce that's covering the penis and they cut it off. So this is just a picture of what the difference is. An uncircumcised penis with the foreskin, you can see right here, and a circumcised penis without the foreskin right here. So here you can see the glands a lot easier than you can with the foreskin intact. There is no functional difference between males who are circumcised and who are not. Everything functions just fine in both situations. It does hurt. That question always comes up. Does it hurt the kid when they're, of course it is. You're cutting a part of their body, but they get over it pretty quickly and they heal and everything should be just fine. So, but otherwise there's functionally no difference. There's just a difference in how it looks. If you choose to do it as an FOW or you want to learn more, there is some people that say that the removal of the foreskin removes a lot of important nerve endings, and so sexual function could be affected, but most males that are circumcised would probably say that they're unaffected in that. So here's one of my favorite parts of the reproductive system. This is where I get to kind of blow your mind with some interesting penis facts. First of all, there is no consistent relationship between the size of a flaccid penis and an erect penis. So I didn't put it on here, but according to the research, males are either showers or growers. So when they're flaccid, which means they're not erect, the flaccid penis is the same size as when they're erect. That would be what's called a shower. So they're the same size flaccid, same size erect. Other males are growers, which means that their penis is smaller when it's flaccid, but it grows when it becomes erect. This is one of my favorite facts, is the fact that the penis is actually boomerang shaped. I'm going to show you that in a visual, in a diagram to show you what I mean by that. But if you think about it, this should make sense. Part of the penis has to be internal. If it wasn't, when a male got erect, it would just kind of flop around all over the place. It has to have something to root into. This is the one that I get questions about a lot. You can break the penis. So here is an interesting penis fact. It is sometimes called a boner when a male gets an erection. There is no bone in the penis. There's no bone in the penis. I'm going to say that again. There is no bone in this penis. We did the skeletal system. We never learned about the penis bone. But during sexual activity, if it gets bent the wrong way, they'll hear a popping sound, kind of like that, and the arteries that are in that spongy tissue can actually break. And it's very, very painful. It is recoverable. But the difficulty with the recovery is that they tell you to try to not get an erection for like 2 weeks. Here's an interesting fact that most penises in the world are uncircumcised. We in the United States have the highest rate of non-Jewish, non-Muslims at about 70% of our population of males are circumcised. The reason I point out non-Jewish and non-Muslim is because it is a tradition in the Jewish and Muslim communities to circumcise their males. I do not know what the state of California's rate is, but again, in the United States, about 70% of males who don't identify as either Jewish or Muslim still get circumcised. And that's why I was referencing earlier that it's kind of a aesthetic thing. If dad would circumcise, usually he wants his son to be circumcised. So a penis is only abnormally small if it's under 3 inches erect, and when it is, we call it a micropenis. The average flaccid length, because I always get this question, is, well, what's the average size of a penis? About 3.5 inches. And the average erect length is anywhere between 5.2 and 6.2 inches. The record, however, is 13 inches. That's 1 inch longer than a standard ruler. And the shortest is 5/8 of an inch. Now, on to how the penis actually works. An erection occurs when the penis becomes enlarged and hardens due to blood flow in the penis. This is usually because of some sort of sexual arousal. But males can attest to the fact that sometimes an erection happens for no obvious reason. Particularly when a male goes through puberty, they could be sitting in class and the teacher's talking about the Pythagorean theorem, and then bam, they get an erection. It's not because math turns them on. It's because, particularly during puberty, there's all these nerves and hormones flying around, and it just starts to happen in that way. Now, sexual stimulation for a male is very individual. It's the same as true for females. Everything is individual when it comes to sexuality, but the stimulation that can cause an erection could be auditory, could be visual, could be tactile, and it could just be your imagination. Any of those things can do it. A lot of research suggests that males are very, very visual. I'm going to use a phrase that I saw on Family Guy one time. A little bit of side boob is all it takes, and they might get an erection from it. Generally speaking, males kind of have that sensation for their sexuality. But the erection is parasympathetic, which means it's not under our voluntary control. What happens is, during that stimulation, we're going to release some hormones and a chemical called nitric oxide, not to be confused with nitrous oxide, but what that nitric oxide does is it has the result of relaxing the smooth muscle in the penile arteries. The arteries dilate, which means opens up, and the blood flows into the sinuses of that erectile tissue. Since the blood is flowing there, the veins get compressed. Now, veins normally take blood away from the penis. So when the penis is flaccid, there's blood moving in, and there's blood moving out, and there's blood moving in at just about the same rate. But as the penile sinuses fill with blood, the veins get compressed, so the blood stays trapped, and that maintains the erection. Now, you can kind of think of this like squeezing a hose when the hose is running. You know how it back pressures that part of the hose behind it? That's kind of the same idea. But what's very important to remember is that there is not a bone in there. An erection does not happen because of a bone. It doesn't happen because of ligaments. It doesn't happen because of tendons. It happens because of erectile tissue and blood. So why does a male become erect? Well, the erection is a process that allows the penis to become stiff enough to be able to enter the vagina. And that is, of course, the way from the vagina up into the uterus, up into the fallopian tubes, that the sperm can actually make its way into the egg. So the erection allows for that to happen. But the erection isn't enough to actually cause the semen to be released. That process is called ejaculation. And in an ejaculation, the semen is released from the urethra into the body. And during this time, there's a whole bunch of muscular contractions that are happening. Some of those are going to cause the sphincters. We remember that word from the digestive system. Sphincters are just circular muscles. There's one at the base of the bladder. There's one around the ducts of the vas deferens and the seminal vesicles. But the one at the base of the bladder is going to close the hole at the bladder so that urine is not mixing with the semen. And as a male becomes more and more stimulated while he's erect, it's going to lead to this process of ejaculation that allows the semen to come out. When he gets to that point, that's usually associated with what we call a male orgasm. And we haven't really talked about what an orgasm is, but it's basically this feeling of very, very intense pleasure. It's different for everybody, just like everything. But during that orgasm, the semen starts coming out, and it comes out because of peristalsis. There's another word we know from the digestive system. Peristaltic contractions are going to squeeze the vas deferens, the seminal vesicles, the ducts, and the prostate, and it's going to all propel semen into the urethra. So we're going to get the sperm, we're going to get the secretions from the prostate gland, from the bulbourethral glands, from the seminal vesicles, from all of it. It's going to get mixed up together and come shooting out of the penis. And when that happens, within a few minutes or seconds, the penis becomes flaccid again. The erection is lost as the arteries start to constrict. So blood is no longer flowing into the penis, and that allows the veins to start taking the blood out of the penis. If you've ever seen the commercials for things like Viagra or Enzyte or some of those other erectile dysfunction pills, it says very clearly, if you have an erection lasting longer than 5 hours, seek immediate medical attention. Why is that a problem? That's because we've got blood kind of stuck in the penis, and it needs to get its way back circulating around the body, and that because it can be dangerous. We need the penis needs to return to its flaccid state. All right, this diagram is just here for you to check your answers from the one that I posted in Google Classroom. I want to make sure that we understand that what we're looking at right now is a posterior view. So this is a posterior view. How do I know? Well, for one thing, it doesn't look like it's a posterior view when we look at the way that this guy's standing. But the reason I know it's a posterior view is because right here, we have the seminal vesicles. The seminal vesicles are posterior to the urinary bladder. So there's a pair of them right there. I should highlight both of them. So this would be the ureter from the kidney. So our kidneys would produce the urine, bring the urine down into our urinary bladder. And then from there, if it was urine, it would just go right through the urethra. So go ahead and check your answers here. The other thing I like about this diagram is here the prostate gland. You can really kind of see that it would look like a donut if it continued all the way around. The vas deferens coming off of the testes is very long, kind of comes all the way around. The epididymis that's sitting on the back of the testis, where our sperm are going to mature. And here's another diagram. We're looking at a mid-sagittal section this time, so that's why we're going to see something we didn't see before, like this right here, which is the pubic bone. In the other view, we're not going to see that bone. But again, we start kind of from the top. We have the ureter coming down into the urinary bladder, and you can see all of the ducts. So just take a moment to check your answers and see if you got this right. Oh, one thing I want to note while I'm here, we highlighted the rectum here for a reason. So this would be the anus. Right here would be the anus, and we've got the rectum, which is our holding tank for poop, hanging out in the back there. And you'll notice that the prostate gland is right here. So some of you males know that the way to check your prostate is the doctor is going to go in with some fingers through the anus and then press forward on the prostate gland to make sure that it's not have any tumors or anything like that. And our last slide with a few more interesting penis facts. So how many erections do males get in a day? About 11. That's the average. I don't know the age frame for that. Forgive me, but I did not look up that specific answer to that. What's interesting is that of those 11, 9 of them occur at night. Males tend to get erections throughout the night, and it has nothing to do with their dreams. Might be an interesting topic for an FOW. The speed at which erotic sensations travel from the skin to the brain is 156 miles an hour. That's interesting. This one I find interesting too is that all penises bend slightly left or right. There's no perfectly straight penis. Odors that increase blood flow to the penis. So these are supposedly things that are smells that enhance erotic sensation, or libido, which is another word for sex drive. Lavender, licorice, chocolate, donuts, and pumpkin pie. The largest penis in the whole animal kingdom, and you're going to remember this for the rest of your life, is the blue whale at 11 feet. Look at your ceiling. Your ceiling is about 10 feet. Dang. The average speed of ejaculation when the semen comes out of the penis, it's coming out at about 28 miles per hour. Most arousing time of the day for a man is early morning and in the fall. Best ways to improve sexual function: quit smoking, start exercising, lose weight. Well, those all sound like things that make all of us more healthy all the time. There is one I forgot to write there, and that is to not wear tight pants. Now, this one is also an interesting thing. This is a real thing, you guys, but the semen record is held by this guy named Horst Schulze. I believe he's German, and he ejaculated 18 feet and 9 inches in a horizontal fashion with a height, and he also has the record for the height at 12 feet 4 inches and a speed of 42.7 miles per hour. Yeah, someone had to take that record. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this series. Please make sure to add questions if you have any for me. And I hope everybody's doing well.